Yo, what's up and welcome to the channel. I'm the Shotgun Shogun, who's ready for everybody and their mom to call Landy garbage, because I'm not. Looks like we're getting a limited character. It's going to be Landy, the chief policio of Policia. So let's take a look at what we've got here.
Let me show you my secret weapon. Respect the great Landy! I'm Landy, Policia's chief of police.
Okay, so first off, Earth Ranger. First limited Earth besides Viken. Surprisingly not an Ice Ranger. Because I think every Ice Ranger is limited, right? You kind of think Luna is, because Yuna, connections, regardless. Landy, limited Landy, the Earth Ranger. Now, her S3, very visually aesthetic. Voice, okay, could be worse, right? It's not Blessing of the Stars, right? 2 active, 1 passive. Definitely an interesting unit, right? So I definitely did, like, when I saw this animation.
Let me show you my secret weapon. Respect the great Landy!
Okay, the respect the great Landy thing, a little yikes, right? But Policia's chief of police, who works hard to do what's best for her city. She adores Flan like her own little sister. When I saw this in the trailer, I was like, yo, that's freaking sweet.
I'm Landy, Policia's...
Basically, Darling and the Franks looking 0-2 police chief unit with the floaty shields, right? I like the floaty shield thing that she's got going on with the giant cape jacket
chief of police
thing.
If you notice
Hat.
anything suspicious or have a lead for me, don't hesitate to let me know.
It's okay. It's all right. So we're going to skip all of this because is as cool as you are, and as much as you want to talk about the backstory, we're here to talk about the stats. So 1158 in attack, 6,002 in health. They could have just made it 6,000, round it to like a nice even number, visually appealing. Maybe take those 2 in health and put it into attacks, so there would be even numbers at the end. Well, there are even numbers, right? But it'd be 60 and then 6,000. Somebody's going to be like, bro, you don't even know what even and odd numbers are. That's fine. 112 speed means she's fairly fast. 553 defense, 23% critical hit chance, is going to get critical hit chance in her awakenings, right? The imprint, big effect resist for the back line. I kind of like that. You also have the attack self imprint. She is limited, so chances are I'm going to triple S her, just because I do that with most limited characters, because regardless of what everybody says, limited characters usually are really strong. It just takes more than somebody who understands the bronze RTA meta to actually unlock what they can do. Because let's be real, most of the people who complain about limiteds being unusable don't have the gear level that it requires to make a limited unit shine, which is a whole other can of worms, right? But I can already tell people in the comment section are going to be like, yo, L felt version 2, bro, garbage. What about Cerise, bro? Trash. Actually, both units are very, very strong in their own niche, right? But regardless of that, big effect resist for the backline, 17.4%, pretty solid. 18% attack for herself, which she's going to be very damage dealing, right? So probably going to want to go with the self imprint on this one. So we're going to go over to the next abilities here as we push forward. This is going to be Landy's S3, full burst. 4-turn cooldown when you got this bad boy maxed out. Soul burn for 10 increases damage done, fires at all enemies, and grants the caster increased speed for 2 turns. When fighting spirit is full, consumes all fighting spirit to increase damage dealt and increase combat readiness of all allies by 15%. Skill cannot trigger a counterattack. Huge. Now, I don't know if that is, well, there's a period at the end of the 15%, right? So I'm going to assume that this just does not trigger counterattacks, which is good. I like does not counter trigger attacks, especially early on dealing with people like Charles, like Ken, ML Ken, things along those lines, right? So yeah, definitely big, definitely good for going in against teams that may or may not have counterattackers on them. It will be interesting to see what the modifiers are for this, but we'll find out probably tomorrow when I do a damage by the numbers after the patch, right? So it does look like it's going to be doing some decent amount of damage here. I do believe that there is the video. Let's look at this one. Okay, so hold up. Let's go back. So she does have greater attack rate now, which is something to take into consideration. It's most likely because of her artifact on why she has greater attack. The DN here is at half health. We don't know the speed of her, but we can assume that probably because they're using a lot, she's kind of slow, so probably pushing her forward. It does look like she may have, I don't know. Anyways. Okay, so as you can see, first off, anti-crit is the lie. Absolute lie. But you would assume that the crowd probably rocking an Arius, right? Maybe, I don't know. He's not getting a ton of extra damage, but he also has defense buff up, right? So we don't know if he does. I mean, I could probably go scroll back. Maybe it shows it at some point in there. Regardless, we're doing 11,000 damage, 11.5k to the DN, which typically you build your DNs a little on the tanky side. Charles, 11,000 damage. Crow, still, even through defense buff, there's got to be damage share there. Absolutely, because he's taking 7,400. Yeah, and you also have the passive from the Elena. You've got all kinds of stuff there. So overall, I think this damage is actually pretty okay. Granted, she does have greater attack buff. So somebody's going to be like, well, she's got greater attack buff. Of course the damage is going to be really good. Well, that's what her artifact gives her. I don't know that you would run her. We'll talk about artifacts in a minute when we get to the artifacts, right? But I mean, that's a lot of damage, right? That's a lot of damage. You just deleted that thing. So we're talking about the S2. This is going to be her passive skill. This increases the caster's attack by 7% after attacking. Effect can stack up to 5 times. And that's going to get even more. It's going to be 10% after you max this out. So that's going to be 50% attack. That's a lot of attack, and you only need to do 5 turns, right? So, I mean, if you're looping real quick, you get an attack buff, you get a greater attack. That's going to be freaking huge. At the start of the turn, gain 10 fighting spirit for each buff granted to an enemy. That's right. Each buff granted to an enemy. That means that with DN on the field, she is going to be absolutely dumpstering things. You also potentially start out with 90%, and then 10%. No, because you would only get 4 if they all have immunity. Not only that, but if there's an FCC on the field, guess what? That's even more. Huge amount of focus, fighting spirit gain, whatever, meaning that you're going to be getting the combat readiness. You're going to be getting the increased damage from the S3 regularly against buff teams, and buff teams are huge, right? Could you imagine if her S3 stripped as well? That would be disgusting. Actually, it would be overpowered, crazy overpowered. But you're going to want to be building her fast, or you're going to be wanting to bring like an Oxlots or Lots in order to loop her, right? Because you want to stack this attack up like crazy fast. Personally, I think that running her Speed Bruiser is going to be the way to go, right? Because you don't need to focus so much on the offensive stats, on crit damage probably, but none of this scales off of a substat, so crit damage is not as important. We will see what obviously the modifiers are, so crit damage is still going to be important, but I think that increasing your attack is going to be really big. But she's basically Green Ranger Fire Ravi, right? Where the longer the match goes, the stronger she's going to get. So you do have this, and this is real big. This is going to be huge. A couple loops, you get one of those greater attack buffs on, and you're just going to be doing so much damage. So you loop around here. Okay, and as you can see, she goes immediately to full fighting spirit because we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 buffs on the other team. So 0 to 100 gets the increased greater attack from her artifact, and then just boom, immediately has the full focus S3, which I think this is the one from before, right? Yeah. It was the one from before. So as you can see, that's going to be huge, right? Now somebody's going to also go back and be like, well, she had greater attack and full focus on her S3. So really the damage that's shown in the video is just not very good at all. Why would you use her when you could just use RB? Anyways, S1, this is going to acquire 20 fighting spirit. So this is going to be huge just by itself, right? Acquire 1 soul, S1, fires at the enemy, increases the caster's combat readiness by 10%. This is going to be 15% when it's maxed out. Effect is doubled when the enemy is buffed. That means that if you're hitting somebody with a buff on, that's 30% increased combat readiness off of that S1 at like 210, 220 speed. You're going to be looping like crazy. Your attack is going to be through the roof. You're going to be rocking out that S3 non-stop. It's going to be actually pretty nutty how many turns she's going to be able to get. Run her speed unity, right? Run her with people who increase combat readiness, increased all kinds, like whatever, right? I think that she's going to turn cycle insanely high. But yeah, I'm super excited. So the thing is, she does not scale with anything other than attack, right? This means that you can make her Speedy Bruiser and not really worry too much about, oh, well, I need to go 350% crit damage to do damage with her. Maybe like 220 speed. You want to be like a little on the tanky side, so maybe like 1100, 1200 defense with like 13, 14k hit points. You're gonna build her basically like a speed Ravi. Actually 100% like a fire speed Ravi. It's 100 actually how I'm gonna build mine, exactly like my speed Ravi. Yeah, because I think that's going to be actually really strong, because Fire Ravi is really strong. Now the only difference is Fire Ravi has a lifesteal on her S1, whereas Landy doesn't, but Landy will cycle faster, right? Mostly just from the S1, as well as the artifact as well. This is going to be real big. You're going to just be getting so much attack. But let's take a look at the artifact since we're talking about the artifact. Wall of Order and limited artifact, super easy to get, 100%. You just pull them nonstop. But at the start of the turn, for each buff granted to an enemy has a 4% chance to grant the caster increased attack for 1 turn, greater increased attack. 8% when you have this thing maxed out. That means that with those 10 buffs that were up on the other team, you had an 80% chance to get greater attack for 1 turn. That's actually super strong, right? Now, If you don't have any buffs up on the other team, it's kind of a dead artifact. Is what it is, right? So after using an attack that targets all enemies, increases combat readiness of the caster by 10%. This means that you're going to get extra combat readiness on that S3. I don't think you get it on the S1. She's only single target on the S1, right? Fires at the enemy and increases. Yeah, so this is just going to be... This is just going to be... Single target, yeah. I mean, but look at that's pretty big damage on that. I mean, sure, again, you got greater attack buff, right? But I mean, 9.1k to Elena is not bad, actually. So the artifact is good, but you're only going to be getting that combat readiness on the S3. And the S3 is going to have 4-turn cooldown. I don't know that this is the best artifact. I'd actually say like maybe a Rosa Hagana is probably one of the better artifacts for her. Just so you get the more dual attacks. It'll get you more combat readiness on your S1. Sure, you won't have the massive chance for greater attack buff, but I don't necessarily think that taking that chance is worth it, right? I mean, obviously, I'll hopefully get like 1 or 2 on my way up, and this might actually be better on... Ooh, you know who this would be really good on? Yuna, actually. This would actually be disgusting on Yuna, because you would just be getting so much... Oh my god, this is going to be... And I mean, you get greater attack buff potentially on your S2 anyways. This is going to be really, really, really good on a Yuna. That's who I'm going to use it on. I'm not going to use it on Landy. I'm going to use this on Yuna, and then I'll use a Rosa on Landy, so that you get the extra double attacks. Not only are you going to be doing a ton of damage, but you will be getting potentially 30% CR push on that dual attack. I think that that's going to be the play. I think that's going to be the better one. I know some people I saw talking about Drink. I guess if you're going to use her in like a cleave, that would be fine. Also, if you use Rosa, that will increase your attack much faster. So if you get double attacks, things like that, if you're running her with Adventurer Ross, like you see in the video, that's going to double up those attacks. So you're going to be able to stack that attack up like super fast, actually. Run her with like a Ross Kitty Clarissa, and you'll have that stacked up in like 2 turns. Not only that, but if you pull her in with Ross, because she should have the most attack, she gets that extra CR push as well. That's actually going to be a disgusting combo. Run her with dual attackers, Tamrin, Kitty Clarissa, Adventurer Ross. Not that you would draft that into RTA, right? Not at all. But I think that that would be pretty good, because you would just instantly finish out your increased attack, and you would be CR pushing like a madman. Singelica could work as well. Again, not many of those you're going to bring other than Adventurer Ross. Adventurer Ross and Kitty Clarissa you could bring to RTA with her. But I think this is going to be really, really good, actually. I want to, like I said, I want to see your modifiers. Her speed is pretty good. It should actually be reasonable to get her to like a 220 speed, with like some okay-ish bruiser stats. Attack imprint, self-imprint is going to be huge for her. And yeah, I think Rosa. But that's my opinions on her. I think she's going to be really good, actually. This really helps out against like the DN buff stall teams, Crows, tank busting kind of, right? Because if you turtle up, she's just going to do more damage. Yeah. I like her belt. I like the 0-2 aesthetic. I like that she's on the mech's hand. mecha waifus. The floating shields are big too. I like that. It's got the Kill la Kill look and feel to her. Do I think that you should pull for her? I mean, she's a limited, so yes. Absolutely, without question. You should always pull for limiteds. I don't think that there's any super bad limiteds, regardless of what everybody else on the internet says. A lot of those players are bronze players, so take their opinions as you will. But that's my opinion on Landy. Obviously, when the modifiers come out, I will be doing a damage by the numbers where we theory craft a lot of things. I'll probably start theory crafting stuff later today, actually. But we'll see. I mean, modifier wise, it's going to be pretty straightforward, right? There's no scaling off of anything. So it's just going to be like, hey, how does this work off of her attack? But that's it for me. If you guys like this content and you're new here, subscribe. I would appreciate that. If you do, hit the bell notification. But if you don't want to, go ahead and tell me down in the comments how bad she's going to be, and how it's going to be an easy skip, and how she's going to be absolute trash. I'll catch you guys later. Take it easy, homies. Peace.
Crack it.